Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. TNA Wrestling crosses the line again with another action-packed episode of TNA Impact. We are just 2 days away from Genesis, and the landscape of TNA has once again changed. Last night, a breaking announcement was made. The WWE and TNA have entered into a multi-year partnership that's going to bring the stars of NXT and TNA together on weekly television programming going forward, and it could all start on Sunday night at Genesis. Now, don't forget the pattern of events and the timing of this announcement is very interesting. Genesis this coming Sunday, NXT Tuesday. JBL, who's somebody who could be involved at some point on Sunday, is scheduled to be on Raw in between those 2 days on the Monday. And of course, the live taping of TNA Impact next week. What a crucial time for this announcement. It is landscape changing. It is so exciting for TNA wrestling, so exciting for wrestling in general. There are so many possibilities. People have been throwing it all out there. Wrestlers have been getting involved. We will go more into that with Andy in our WWE review of the week tomorrow. But my goodness me, what an exciting time for TNA. Just when you thought that partnership may have come to an end, it is back. And to quote a certain former WWE personality, it is better than ever. Right, let's get down to Impact. Like we said, it's the one before Genesis. Genesis happens this coming Sunday. And boy, oh boy, has a lot happened on Impact that can change the direct trajectory, words on a Friday, guys, of the pay-per-view. Lots of stuff has happened on this. We need to get into it. First things first, it was the Battle of the Brits, the Battle of Britain. Leon Slater, Trent Seven in a fantastic opening contest. Now, what we do apparently know anyway was this was Trent Seven's last taping for TNA. Nothing being confirmed, but a lot of reports out there uh, back that up pretty much. Great opener. I mean, Leon Slater, like I said before, 2025, that guy, that kid, he's a kid still, don't forget, is winning gold in TNA, and the mouth waters at what could happen over in the WWE on NXT. You could get, oh God, that is, jeez, oh, yeah, my boggles. But this was a great opener, showcasing the veteranly type of wrestling of Trent Seven with the charismatic, high flying, exciting Leon Slater. Leon Slater did pick up the victory in a great back and forth match between the two. After diving off the stage onto Trent Seven, throwing him in the ring and hitting that Swanton 450, which is a move that is got to be seen to be believed, guys. It is an incredible move. These two are great. But on top of that, Frankie Kazarian was on commentary. Now, the reason that's important is on the countdown to Genesis, Kazarian will face Leon Slater in what will be an amazing encounter. Kazarian, the wily old veteran that can still go. Leon Slater, the young up-and-comer whippersnapper wrestler. The excitement of Leon Slater. They're going to bring the house down before Genesis even begins. But Leon Slater picks up a big victory over the potentially departing Trent Seven. And if he is departing, it's been a great run for Trent in TNA. We've loved him watching him on TNA, and we hope obviously the best for the very best for the future for Trent Seven. There was a nice little career retrospect again for Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry obviously going against Nick Nemeth this coming Sunday at Genesis for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. More on that in a minute. Now, the personal concierge, George the Iceman, was giving us a taster of the pre-launch party, the Knockouts Tag Team Championship pre-launch party for Ash and Heather by Elegance. They will be taking on Spitfire this coming Sunday for the gold, and we will do Genesis predictions after we've got through TNA Impact. It was quite funny. They did do acceptance speeches and thank you speeches, and it was quite hilarious to see all that. And they haven't even won the titles yet. Yet they're going through this whole. It was like an Oscar winning performance from the Elegances. But of course, did you not think Spitfire was going to have something to say about that? Of course they did. They were very much, they called it a case of the delusion before they called them wannabe Barbie dolls as well, which to be fair, you could argue that is the case. And then they ended up, there was a bit on there, sorry, where Georgie actually had cardboard cutouts made of the Elegances with the tag team titles. And unsurprisingly, they got destroyed by Spitfire. But that is going to be a huge contest this coming Sunday. And I'm really looking forward actually to that match because I have a feeling that perhaps that party may well have been ahead of its time. Well, we will see, that's for sure. Now, Gia Miller was backstage interviewing PCO and Sammy Callahan. Now, remember, they've got a match against the Hardys later on Impact, and if they were successful in that match, they would be added to the Hardys versus the Rascals at Genesis. Now I'm a little bit I'm a little bit skeptical about that. But they did say this was going to be an unpredictable and chaos and unpredictability to head into Genesis. They were going to get the job done, and PCO then said, "Gia Miller done a very good interview. Good job. Gave her a good job." Now, in terms of announcers, Jade Chung was the last time she was going to be announcing. She finished up with TNA on this past week's episode as well. Now, the interesting point about that is that's Josh Alexander's wife. Go figure. Yeah, we know. The next match on the show was Macklin and Young. Now, Macklin and Young are kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde team. They could be 1 minute they can work well, the next minute they could be at each other's throats, and it's all a bit crazy with them two. And they were going against First Class, which because AJ Francis and Casey Navarro really enjoyed this match actually. Macklin and Young, they're getting there. They're getting there as a team. There's still a few kinks in the armor, so to speak, but nevertheless, First Class proved to be a great opposition for them. And I say again, I wax lyrical about Leon Slater. I'll wax lyrical about AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. To AJ Francis, always constantly improving. Casey Navarro is one of the most, again, when we talk about exciting wrestlers, Casey Navarro fits that bill to a T. He is definitely one to watch in 2025. Now, they didn't get the job done here, though, as Eric Young hits that patented flying elbow drop on Casey Navarro for the victory. Shades of the Macho Man Randy Savage from Eric Young. Now, a little bit later on in Impact, there is a tag match made for Genesis, and that is going to be Macklin and Young again against the System, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, who are a real good, that is going to be a big test for Macklin and Young to see if they can coexist against a team that have not only been together a while and coexist very well, but a team that has always kind of been a part of a team. Eddie Edwards, American Wolves, you had Brian Myers, who was with Matt Cardona, so you had a lot there. There's always been a tag team element to them against a team that's very, very newly formed. So it's going to be quite interesting to see if Macklin and Young can coexist against the System, and will no doubt be a great tag team match. Will be a great tag team match, no questions asked. But will definitely be the mayhem. And if you're a Steve Macklin fan, you'll know what that means. Now, a confessional is next. Those of you that have been watching this the last few weeks will know that Masha Slamovich has got a problem, and that problem is by the name of Rosemary. Now, if you remember last week, Rosemary held a knife to Raven's throat, and Raven kind of was like, why don't you just put her in a Clockwork Orange match? And that was the worst impression of Raven you'll ever hear in your life. do not ever clip that. I don't want to see that anywhere or else apart from this channel. Anyway, he was saying to Rosemary, why don't you make it a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match, which was Raven's specialty in TNA. She loved that. But Rosemary, she was going on about this confessional when they were in the confessional together. She made a point of saying it's been 7 years since she's had the Knockouts Championship and she wants to regain it back. And Slamovich said the only person that can stop Rosemary from being champion is Rosemary or themselves. And also told Slamovich that would be taken piece by piece. But Slamovich did also say that they're going to drag him, or if they want to touch the title or take the title from him, they're going to have to drag them to hell. Well, hell could be where they go this coming Sunday at Genesis, a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. Well, hell, blood potentially in that match. I wouldn't put it past them. The women are very, you know, Rosemary's crazy. Slamovich will literally, as she said, go through hell to retain the championship. So there's a lot going on between these two this coming Sunday at Genesis, and it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. But however, Masha Slamovich also has another problem. And the other problem is Cora Jade. Those of you that watch NXT will know that Masha Slamovich appeared on NXT this week. She was in the crowd. I think Roxanne Perez may have also been in that match as well. But Cora Jade had a bit of a stare off from the aisleway, and it's a little bit of a back and forth on social media. So potentially here, Slamovich has to deal with Rosemary, but she's also may have to deal with Cora Jade. We'll wait and see what happens on that. But the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match will be crazy, to say the least. Moving on. Santana, we all know, has got to go against Josh Alexander this coming Sunday. They had a bit of a heated standoff this week, and the match has now changed, which I'm going to give you my thoughts on this, maybe during the Genesis predictions, actually, but it is now an I quit match. Now, that is one of the worst ways to lose a match if you've got to say, I quit, because your opponent is beating you down so badly that you can no longer take the punishment. Yeah, that was actually offered by Santana to Josh Alexander, who accepted. And he's going to teach Santana a lesson he should have learned long ago, that his spot was at the bottom of the card and he needs to and he's forced to see him face to face, that Alexander is the new standard of TN. Oh, sorry. Santana then said Alexander would be staring face to face with a man who's the new standard of TNA. So this is going to put in a really interesting situation between these two. And an I Quit match, like I said, is going to be very, very interesting who loses. And if my prediction is true, this makes sense. And you'll get where I'm coming from. If you've been watching the show, you'll get where I'm coming from if you follow the news that's been going on around Josh Alexander and a contract situation. But we'll wait for the Genesis predictions in a minute. And I'll let you know my feelings on that. Now, Jake something, Laredo Kid, David Goliath, quickness versus strength. This is exactly the words that brings this match together. It was a fun match. There's no doubt about it. I just think with Jake something has to happen this year with him. He's in a bit of a situation. Like, it was a great match, by the way. He beats him with the something bomb. He does beat Laredo Kid. I just feel as if like he's been there and thereabouts, there and thereabouts, there and thereabouts, but he's never been there, if that makes sense. And like, I feel now he's got to do something this year, because otherwise you're going to be floundering. And TNA, they're going to, listen, there's going to be new stars coming in. There's no doubt about it. And we'll talk about potentially who we think could be one of them soon. And obviously with this now crossover stuff coming into play a lot more with WWE, there is a fear that some of these guys could get lost in the shuffle, and Jake Summing could be one of those. He has all the attributes that you need in a star, and as I said, the match with Laredo Kid was great. I just worry that he's kind of in this sort of in between role. Like, The title's here, but he's here. But he does get there occasionally, but he never quite gets the job done. And we spoke to him about that before he went for his third X Division Championship match, which he was unsuccessful in. So I don't quite know if something, but something has to give with him this year. But he did pick up a good victory over Laredo Kid this week. Really good vignette from Ace Austin this week, by the way. Though he takes on Moose this coming Sunday at Genesis for the new X Division Championship. I may add, there's going to be a new title this week. And he was talking about the inspiration that he gained from working with the Hardys, and obviously his partner Chris Bay as well. And Ace Austin failed to show Moose what the X Division is all about. Ace Austin is more than capable of beating Moose for the X Division Championship. But Moose isn't, listen, just because it's the X Division and we all know what to expect from the X Division, that doesn't mean to say Moose can't do it. We've seen him in these X Division matches where he's been taken, Laredo Kid gave him one. Not so much last week against Andrew Everett, but he has had X Division matches and he takes some moves, man. He took some big moves, X Division style moves, considering that guy is big, he's tall, he's muscly. He takes the moves. There's no doubt about it. And it's not going to be as easy for Ace Austin. And I don't know if Ace Austin gets the job done either, but we'll wait and see. We mentioned earlier on PCO and Callahan against the Hardys. If they win, they get added. If they don't, they don't. Interesting about this match again was the number 23 showed up again before PCO and Callahan got the job going. He certainly did. It's interesting as to whether who that 23 is. I fear it could still be Baron Corbin. That is still a possibility. The 23rd, obviously being the live Impact taping, that could be very, very interesting times. We will find out. Nevertheless, did Sami Callahan and PCO get the job done against the Hardys? No. They did not. A twist of fate swanton bomb combination from the Hardys onto Callahan gets the job done really good. Again, PCO and Callahan shouldn't work, but they do work so well as a team. The Hardys are the Hardys. You know what you're going to get with it. I didn't see the Hardys losing this match this close to Genesis. Had that match had happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, I could potentially have seen Callahan and PCO get added to the mix. But the fear for me was there was always that secondary storyline about the number 23. And that plays dividends into the Impact coming up. So to have them in a match at the pay-per-view didn't quite work, and he didn't quite suit the narrative as to where the story's going with the number 23. That's my opinion on that. So I wasn't surprised that he didn't get the job done. But what I will be surprised with is how well they work together as a team. It's a great team. It's a great tag match, by the way. You know, go and check that out. It was really, really good between the two. But the Hardys get the job done, and they go against the dream opponents, really, in the Rascals. And it should really be a show-stealing match this coming Sunday at Genesis, which, by the way, you can watch on the TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded. Now is better. Now is probably the best time to do it. With everything going on in TNA right now, you should be downloading that app. You should be subscribing to TNA Plus to watch all the stuff unfold that's going to happen with this partnership with the WWE. And on top of that, if you are a fan of TNA and you want to watch the old stuff, it is right there in your hand. So make sure you download it and watch. Now, Jordan Grace appeared at this point on the commentary and she said that Tessa Blanchard hadn't signed a contract for the match at Genesis this week. And it's not surprised because it wouldn't be the first time that she had done. Now, moving on. The main segment of this was a face-to-face between Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. And, Joe Hendry's like, he feels desperate now. He's like, he's got to win this. He is the new era. He is the face of the new era. He needs to win this match more than anything. And, Nick was like, yeah, I get it. I do get that, but he doesn't think that Joe Hendry's ready. It's like, it's a different lifestyle. And he doesn't think that he's ready for it. Being a champion is a lot different to being the challenger. Nick Nemeth knows that. He's no stranger to that. He's been there in the past, so he knows all this. But he did say, Nick Nair did say that him and JBL, him and his business with JBL was JBL's business. And he was not happy with Ryan Nemeth getting his head taken off with a lariat from Layfield, which did happen at the last time they fought. Um, and that basically, you know, Ryan Nemeth then come out and interrupted them, saying that Hendry was not his friend. He was trying to manipulate Nemeth as well. And Ryan Nemeth then lunged at Joe Hendry, which led to Hendry starting to go at it with Ryan Nemeth, which then led to a super kick by Nick Nemeth to Joe Hendry. But Nick was standing tall, but he didn't look. He looked a bit confused by this. My prediction for that, and we'll get into it, Genesis. We're going to definitely see JBL. We may see something significantly happen at Genesis with JBL. I think we'll find out what's going on, where his allegiance lies, and so much more at Genesis. But that wasn't all. Here comes Tessa Blanchard, of all people, to sign the contract for Jordan Grace, and all hell breaks loose to end Impact this week. Again, it was like last week when them two were just fighting. Those two were kicking seven bells out of each other again to end Impact. Jordan Grace standing tall this time to end the show and get us ready for Genesis this coming Sunday. I cannot wait for that. I am just loading up the match list. And as I always say, I am getting this match list from Wikipedia. So that anyone confused why I'm reading off matches in a particular order, it's the match list from Wikipedia, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go into it. Right. Leon Slater, Frankie Kazarian. Do you know what? As much as I love Leon Slater, and as much as I think he's going to win a championship this year, I don't think he beats Frankie Kazarian at Genesis. I think because Frankie Kazarian is the wild card in that world title, which we kind of forgotten about, these last few weeks. Kazarian has got that shot at any time, any place. I can't see Leon beating him. However, I'm going for Kazarian to win. But I will say if Leon Slater wins, Kazarian's cashing in. There's two predictions there in that one for you. But Kazarian for me, I feel as if Kazarian needs to win that. The X Division Championship match, Moose and Ace Austin. It's a difficult one because I really want Ace Austin to win it. There is obviously the background with Chris Bay and all of that stuff. Part of me thinks he will. But why would you bring a new X Division Championship in there if Moose isn't going to retain? That's kind of where my head's kind of split between that. I'm sticking with Moose. Moose retains for me. I don't know, but I'm going to stick with Moose. Moose retains. I've got to move on. The Knockouts World Tag Team Championship, Spitfire and the Elegances. I'm going to say we're going to get new tag team champions. I think the Elegances will get the job done on this occasion. I know they've had their pre-launch party, and I know that sometimes that always isn't the bearer of good news. But for me, I feel as if they do have to win it. And I'm going to go with the Elegances to beat Spitfire. Sorry, Danny, but got to be done. Elegances, they need it. Ash by Elegance needs it just because of how hard that she's worked over these last few years, and we've seen it on TNA week in, week out. Josh Alexander, Mike Santana, I Quit match. Well, I think we know on this is potentially Josh's last hurrah with TNA. There's a lot of rumors that he's exploring free agency come February when his TNA contract expires. And his TNA contract, if I'm right, is on the same day as the Royal Rumble. Yeah. Go and watch the SmackDown show from this week. I'll give you what I thought was going to happen in that. And for me, if he's going to go out of TNA, saying I quit, which is like I've said before, which is quite a demoralizing way to lose, having to quit, makes sense for Santana. Santana is going to be the big star from TNA in this year, in my opinion. I think he will be world champion at some point this year, maybe towards the back end. But Santana will be the champion. And if Josh Alexander's going to bow out of TNA now, the best way for him to do it would be to quit. They may do it in a way that the Northern Armory get involved and quit for him. Maybe they throw in the towel. I don't know. But if Josh is going out of TNA, he needs to kind of do that the right thing, so to speak. And him losing the I Quit match to Santana, giving Santana his props or his flowers in this case, is the right thing to do. So for me, Santana wins that particular match. Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard, see above. Literally see above. Tessa wins this. We know Jordan Grace is leaving TNA. Well, we say leaving TNA with this partnership now. She may not necessarily be leaving TNA because she's probably going to the WWE, which means she probably could be coming back to TNA. But for me, like I said, if you're going to leave a company, even if you are going to the company that you partnered with, you do the right thing. And I think no matter what, if there is legitimate heat there between her and Tessa, it's certainly bringing into making that feud work. But for me, Tessa has to win it, assuming Jordan's leaving, which we pretty much know that's without her saying it, she's leaving. So Tessa wins that for me. The Hardys versus the Rascals for the tag titles. Too early for me, for Matt and Jeff to lose. I think we're going to have some big plans coming up with that partnership for me. And I love the Rascals, I really do. But the Hardys retain for me on this occasion. It will be a great match, no doubt about it. Huge match. But I don't think if this was a Slammiversary, if this was a Bound for Glory type show, and this isn't degrading Genesis whatsoever, but you know that pay-per-views, you know that the WWE have like WrestleMania, TNA have all, AEW have All In, NWA have NWA 76 and stuff like that. The pay-per-views that you're talking about here is when those kind of changes would generally happen, especially if they were a young team going up against a veteran type team. For me, it's too early in the Hardys' reign, and it isn't a Bound for Glory, it isn't a Slammiversary. So for me, that's the reasons why the Hardys will pick up the victory. Slamovich and Rosemary in the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. Slamovich for me. It's not. Tessa may take it from her eventually if things go well with her and TNA. Who knows? It'll be a great match. It might be bloody, it may be gory, it may be crazy, which suits Rosemary really. But Masha for me retains the championship there. The System, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers against Young and Macklin. It's really late in the day to add it. I'm going to go with Young and Macklin just because I feel that at some point, Young and Macklin will end up against each other. I don't think this is the time for it because it kind of doesn't make sense with the System. And obviously got the factor of Alicia Edwards to be involved in it as well. But no, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers don't win this one, in my opinion. It is all about Young and Macklin. Nick Nemeth, Joe Hendry. Ooh, Jesus. Oh, Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry for me. That's the match for me. I think Joe Hendry will pick up the victory. I don't know. There is a lot about John Bradshaw Layfield and everybody else. I just think I don't. You know what? It could be that JBL cost Joe Hendry the match. Joe Hendry ends up on Raw Monday. Shoo, 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 shoo. Oh. But we can't keep having Joe Hendry in the title picture if he's not going to win the title. Because he then becomes an unbelievable contender. He doesn't, he's lost so many times. Oh, mate, do they start the year with it or not? Ooh. Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry wins title. That's what I'm going for. But all the action unfolds Sunday night at Genesis on the TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded, get it subscribed. We will be reviewing that Monday night. So check our review out on Monday of Genesis. That will be there. Lots to come. We have just announced that Mr. Pay-Per-View himself, RVD, will be coming on the channel soon for a good old chat. So don't miss that. Don't miss all the other shows at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast on Instagram. But until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.